Welcome, everyone, for our talk about the futures of Connect and where we are. And how many in this room have used Connect so far? Raise your hands. Yeah? OK. Good. All right. So the rest of you, this will be a lot of fun because we're going to learn about some things. Now, I wasn't supposed to be giving this presentation today. Our leader of Connect Portfolio, Todd Brown, friend of ours, was supposed to be giving this talk, but he can't be here right now. And I want everyone to wave at Todd so that I can take a picture and say, Todd, we love you. We'll see you soon. All right. Thank you. Now, I will send that to him, and he'll appreciate it, just to know that we were here and I did his job. I want to tell you that the things we're going to talk about today, we may not have exact release dates and that sort of thing. I won't have all the answers to all your questions, but when we talk about Connect and its potential, that's where strategy and prioritization actually lives. We live in this space between what people have done, what people are doing, and where people want to go. So a lot of these things revolve around these core concepts of our siloed data. If you've followed presentations I've done before, you know that we want people to go get more data out of those dark corners. So if you have dark data out in your organization, whether it's from OT, ET, or IT, how many T's, can you get it into a usable format? And then can you compare these things that are dissimilar? So one of the powers of AVEVA's software is to make different vendor systems that grow up as your operations mature and as your design practices mature, is how do we get that data together so I can make two very similar things, but they're structured differently, comparable, so I can do analytics across a wide variety of data types, data sources, assets, and improve my performance. Then look for those patterns. Look across these different silos, look for those hidden patterns, and phone a friend. Go make friends with somebody who can do the analytics that you're interested in doing, and then find a repeatable pattern. Now, as you know, from a Pi server background or from a system platform background, or if you've used AIM from engineering, you know that a lot of assets are different. They grow up, they get designed differently, they get operated differently, but maybe you buy something, maybe you sell something. This information becomes very, very valuable. The more you look at it, the more valuable it becomes. And you need to then collaborate across those borders. And luckily, I don't know if you were anticipating this, but luckily, Connect helps you do that. And that's an important thing. We have tried to standardize ways to get the data in, ways to get access to tools that leverage that data, and ways to increase the investment in your existing AVEVA technology and third-party technology so that we can actually help you have that trusted intelligence layer. Connect is really that foundational layer that sits above all the sites and things and lets you do better work. You can then create insight, and because we're used to writing back to systems and doing control, we want to help close that loop in a variety of ways. Now, of course, we'll have different ways to do that as technology matures, as AI matures, those things. We'll have human-assisted, AI loops. We'll have ways to, work with remote sites and process that data in real time so that you don't have to dispatch somebody on a calendar-based maintenance sort of thing. There are lots and lots of use cases out there, but it turns out that if we give tools and technology to our partners and our friends and our customers, we can also create an empowered ecosystem around Connect. So the same APIs that we use to build software are available to our ecosystem and our customers. And with the advent of AI coding, you should be able to start generating your own value proposition, analytics applications, those kind of things, to help uncover those insights. Now, thinking through what we actually create, we have a number of applications that you can access via Connect today. And actually, this is where Connect started. It was a way to transform your access to AVEVA technologies. You log into Connect, you can launch these applications. You don't have to install these things on your desktop unless you don't want to. You can use them as a service, and then you can switch between applications as use cases change. But also, Connect has been growing. We have data service, we have visualization services, we have analytics. You saw that we've acquired Crosshair. Those kind of things bolster the value of investing more in Connect, because Connect is not just a way to access data and applications. It's a way to become a system of record, a shared version of the truth. And we shape that data for industry. So we're not a commodity. We know how assets should look. We know how time series and sequence-oriented data should look. We know what production records look like. We want to tune this so that it makes your insights easier to access, easier to collaborate around, and build different ways to experience that data. And then we also want you to share it with people. Our partner ecosystem, very exciting. We actually, some of the things we talk about today, we had a developer boot camp, and they ought to actually build an application. We've invested in this Genius track here so that we have people with a very intense technical desire to understand the depths of our software are able to walk away from this conference saying, I understand how to use the APIs. I have an idea of what to do. AVEVA helped me go do it. Because when you have this foundation in place where you can actually think about the data ecosystem you want to bring into Connect, and then the outcome, and that's generally what our job in strategy and prioritization is understand the outcome you can deliver. And so when you think about, is it optimizing my energy through this transformation? Is it sustainability things? Is it how my assets are doing? How do I increase production performance? How do I increase product quality? All those things can be done when you have access to the data in the right context. And that's really the power of Connect, that industrial intelligence layer that we have built data services on top of in order to help you curate and deliver data to people so that they can do incredible things and our ecosystem can build incredible applications. It empowers these transformations. And so you create trustworthy data, and then you can have trustworthy outcomes. And that's really where we have been concentrating, how to get data reliably in place into Connect from hybrid systems, empower people in control down at the asset level with insights that can be developed at the cloud scale level and help them do better with repeatable patterns and identifying things like that. So think about the different roles you have across all of your teams. You have reliability engineers, you have engineering design cycles where they're looking at a process and they're saying, we're going to take it down, we're going to improve it, design a replacement, and get it rolled out. How do I do that more reliably? And how can I do that with Connect? So think of these different use cases because I think everyone has a different lens on this data. The power of Connect is then when you are able to take this information and then make it findable and usable in a trustworthy manner. And then that is this pretty slide that we have here, where you have a lovely morphing animation that says design, build, operate, and optimize. Because nobody wears quite all these hats all at once. It would be a very tall set of hats. But if you know what you want to design, and you know how to go and when to go build it, and you are operating at peak performance, you can close that loop so that they go, hey, that improvement worked really well. How do I do that at more sites? How do I do that with a partner to work with that? So some of our customers are doing this right now, and unfortunately, most of these talks have happened, so I hope you saw them. I didn't get to, but like Petrobras, they are able to actually collaborate around engineering projects in a much faster way with the technology we'll talk about in a minute about community. EDP Renewables, they actually built a lot of software around their Pi server infrastructure in order to get data and do analytics and work on how they can produce reliable, renewable power for the market. But they then transformed it with the way that we integrate with Databricks. So they're able to take that extract operation, time and the work involved, reduce it down so they could do it every 15 minutes instead of once every 12 hours. So these are the things that we're trying to do to automate the brute force steps in order to help outcomes like that happen. Lamberti is actually using a new thing in TwinThread Advanced Analytics that is more like a golden badge. Detect excursions early so that I can catch a process before something turns bad and then correct it so I can actually then release that product. I don't lose a batch of very expensive material that can't be launched to market because there was a quality problem. Those are all things you can do when you have these tools kind of grouped together and accessible to a wide range of personas. Now, there are basically 5 big categories within Connect that we'll talk about. We have connectivity, that's how to get the data in and out and so forth. The data management and visualization, don't really want to minimize that because it's a lot of the plumbing there, but being able to store, shape, and see that data. And then how to do the analytics, where you're going to have AI, you're going to have machine learning, you're going to be able to do your own things as well. And then how do you use applications that either come from us or our ecosystem to extend the value of that data. Now, one exciting animation later, we're going to talk about Connect today. So role-based visualizations, if you've been down to the expo floor, and I hope you have been, there's a giant yellow booth there, and it has these experiences on it. These are things that you can do today with Connect. You can take and build these graphics or experiences that are much more like an application for people to leverage data inside of Connect. And those can be available to anyone who can sign in. So you don't have to have a dedicated PC with an application installed. You get the same fidelity that they would be used to, and say on a desktop application, they're able to see it in their browser. Leveraging all those fancy design tools that make the displays look good and effective, and they communicate that information very compactly, you can now do that in Connect visualization. So using all that information, you may want to then share some of that data for other people to build their own graphics or their own analytics, or if you have a group of people that would like to transform their business. Some of our customers are actually looking at how they do a digital business based on other people's data. So they're really good at running rotating equipment. And they're in a community where other operators have rotating equipment, but they don't have the same kind of insights. They would like to build an application that helps others in their line of business, but maybe sort of competitors, but frenemies. They say, well, we would like to sell you uptime on your compressors. We have an algorithm that's secret. We would like to see into some of your data, run that algorithm, and then share the data back to you so you can operate that compressor longer. And we see this in places where they have a community of, kind of a collaborative community where they may generate power or work on chemicals or fine chemicals that they want to be used in an optimized sort of way. They can sell back some of that intellectual property, but that's a different line of business to them. They want to work with their customer to understand, is that chemical being used properly, and how could I help them get more out of their investment and continue their investment with us? In the engineering world, that same community activity is around projects. How do I get more people up to speed and working on a project and being able to switch in between securely between those work streams so that they can work on more projects without actually copying data everywhere? They just get access, they get invited, they get access, and then when that project is done, they close it off. This perfect centerline topic is the Lamberti profile that we did here at the show. And this is really how to identify that perfect batch. It's taking in a lot of statistical information to make that model happen, and then it runs frequently. And you can even write that data back from advanced analytics all the way down to a Pi server. So that means that someone could design the model, get it working, store the data in Connect Data Services, and then get it all the way back down on-prem so it shows up in a Pi Vision display. And now with Crosser, we should be able to do that to almost anything that we've got in the AVEVA portfolio, or leveraging things like John will talk about later, like the unified namespace. We can actually get that data into the hands of people who can take action. So we're trying to make this a bidirectional relationship with the data, because the power of our software is you, the users. Empowering you is the most important thing we can do. We want to keep you in the loop when we talk about how we get data more visible to the business. The business should give something back. The data scientist should give you something back, and you should be able to take it and leverage it and empower your people who are on site, whether that's collaboratively. I have a centralized operations group, and I have people on site, and I can inform them how to troubleshoot something or make adjustments. They need to see the same data. So we'll talk about how they do that in a bit. So we talked a little bit about this, Databricks integration. So if you've used any of the large analytics platforms, you will do a lot of digital plumbing. Now, being a chemical engineer, I know we're just plumbers, but some of it isn't much fun. So if you are writing scripts and you're trying to land that data over into a different provider so you can do analytics, what we'd rather do is talk about materializing views automatically and then picking up changes so that they can be visible to users in a Unity catalog for data breaks, right? That means that once you've configured it and you press go and then you link it with the catalog, your data scientists that are fluent in Databricks don't have to necessarily be fluent in your operational tools in order to develop machine learning algorithms and generate things in reports and that sort of thing. So this Databricks integration has been available all last year, and that's where EDP Renewables has transformed their ability to participate in the forecasting market on a 15-minute basis rather than a 12-hour basis. Now, we have existing use cases already. We have terrestrial software that does its job. And we have been working on more and more connectivity in our AVEVA portfolio, so we're investing in that, and it's basically a hybrid environment. And we're pretty sure all operations are still going to be a hybrid environment. There is something that's expensive and noisy, and there's somebody next to it, or there's going to be a robot dog, evidently, walking around doing something for you. You are going to have terrestrial operations. So we want to get that data out of these systems and available to more people. Now, these systems are differently configured at every site, and they do different things, and they have different users. We'll talk about that in a minute. But investing in this bidirectional capability helps increase the visibility into those operations and how people can interact with the data. Now, you still have access to AVEVA's SaaS applications and Connect. So the look and feel is evolving and getting easier and easier to use, but you still have access to unified engineering and AIM-A and simulation, all these very important things that we have made easy to access and easy to use inside of Connect. So none of that's being left behind as we evolve Connect's experiences, but we are also building tighter integrations so that the data that ends up in Connect is also available for others to use and extend. So there are a lot of exciting things going on there, as well as in our partner ecosystem. So I got the privilege of judging the partner games in a panel here. And if you are a partner, the registration is open. So the partner games it's a long-term project. It's like 4 months of kind of a ladder of building things, getting your hands on the Connect and all the AVEVA portfolio, technically. The more you use, the more likely you are to win. So the more you use, they kind of do a knockout, like, here's your Hackfest, here's the results, and then we get down to the final 4, basically. And that's what we got to see, is 4 really interesting, different applications. They are given challenges and so forth, but they get hands-on to all the software that we make, and they get to demonstrate their cool solutions that they came up with. And so it's fun to see the innovation out in the community of our ecosystem partners. And if you are interested in signing up, please make sure to talk to Rish. He's somewhere back here. He can help you get there. OK, so one exciting animation later, we're going to talk about what's next in Connect. We've raced through a lot of slides there, and I get it. But we have 3 big things to talk about. And one is, I've hinted at, that unified user experience. The user experience of Connect was folder-based, and you'd log in, you'd launch applications, and it wasn't really as integrated as we thought it could be. So we spent a lot of time listening to a lot of feedback to see how we could make a more seamless experience around how you can actually leverage the capabilities of Connect. So we'll talk about some of that. You'll get to see a little bit of an animation there. Please go down to the show floor. You'll get to see some of that there. The industrial intelligence graph. This graph is what we're talking about to make multiple things look similar so that you can write an analytic or a visualization once and have it apply to many different operations. So I want to talk about the industrial knowledge graph there. And then we have some new capabilities that are a lot of fun to talk about. So let's get into it. Oh, yeah, I forgot. People ask when it's going to be arriving today. So we have an early access program that we are onboarding certain select customers into in the next few weeks. And the exciting thing is that if you had signed up for the boot camp that was on Monday, you actually got your hands on this software. You actually got to build an application, kind of a guided experience. Everyone got to log in. Everyone got to do some creative things with their this evolved Connect, and they got to use the industrial knowledge graph. They got to see the new UI, all that sort of stuff. So we're expanding the availability to our customers. There are ways to express interest in that later. But we're going to have a much larger launch in 2027, talking about how to go do that. Now, this new user experience is really cool, because what you're going to see back there, and we'll let this run for a little while, is that search is much more powerful. And the reason it's much more powerful will be evident in the industrial knowledge graph there. But you can find, you can create directly, you can go manage your connections in one screen that has some tabs in it to make it a much more cohesive experience. So we're taking a lot of the multiple clicks and that sort of thing out of the existing Connect that we have today, where you've got access to Connect data services, and it's kind of a separate island. That's all being mushed together in a way that is much more pleasant to use. Mushed is the wrong word, but it's much more pleasant to use. It follows a thread, a workflow from end to end to help you diagnose and deploy that information. And then that search is going to help you launch into the thing you want to go see, which is a lot of fun. Now, I've been waiting almost 20 years to show you this slide. It's been a while, but I'm excited. I like this slide a lot because the world is complicated. Everyone has different relationships with all this stuff. And I dug this up out of a 2007 slide deck to show somebody today. I was like, see, we were talking about this. Now we're doing it, and that's awesome. It took the power of AVEVA and the bright minds that we have to put this together in a way that actually allows you to model your operations and your engineering work and all that as it actually is just designed. It's not a hierarchy. It's not just a folder full of assets. It can be. But there are connections. There are references to materials that you use in a production record. There are assets and recipes that are linked together. There are names of tags in certain systems from System Platform and Pi and so forth that aren't aligned, even if they're at the same plant. If you have multiple AF structures at multiple sites or multiple system platform galaxies that you're trying to manage, you need to get them into one place and create something that looks a lot more like this graph. So that means that you should be able to traverse that graph, and you have to build that graph. And so we started with the ground truth. If I need an experience that lets me navigate all that, I need to then ingest that information, persist it in a way that I can search, and then also start creating things that can map that graph so that I can search and find what I'm looking for and get the same answer as somebody who comes in from a maintenance perspective, or a person using Databricks could be using this and also see that that asset is the same asset as it's on this diagram. So what's cool is that when we've invested in that hybrid connectivity, we have some really smart, creative people in administration of our tools, let's just say. And if you have an asset structure and Pi asset framework, and you've got links that traverse way down the tree, because that's kind of the way you would do a graph in AF, those are persisted. So sometimes when you see get-related assets, you see something spring up, and then you see a loop back. That's because that's literally how that asset works. It's part of maybe an area, but it also is linked back to a parent asset because it's a recycle stream or something like that. So we preserve that fidelity, and it inherits it from the actual source system of record. And the decision we made was that we want each system of record to be, what we see is what you get. We're not going to transform it on the way in. We want it to be able to say, like, the site looks like this. We can find that same site there, and then we can actually map that stuff together. So that means that we've invested a lot into how we connect to these systems and how we want to bring data back. Now, you may have seen a Genius track that happened called, it was about the adaptive framework, which we are open sourcing, which is very exciting. And it supports a thing that is an open message format. It's actually an industry neutral format, and it can specify what things look like. And that means that anyone can write data into Connect or to Pi, and you can specify what in Connect, you can specify what an asset is, what properties are on it, and then relate it to streams of data. And that opens up partner solutions to be able to read-write data out of Connect in a very neutral sort of way. So when you have all this data coming up into their different areas, you want to be able to link it together. And you want to reuse all that work you did in your system platform Galaxy and your AIM-A, your engineering warehouse of information, and your Pi system. And some of that reuse actually comes back to visualization. You spent a long time making these graphics look great, and it's not a race. It's not a race. One shows up a little faster than the other. It's just the things that we're doing. It's going to be fine. We've got system platform graphics there, and then we have Pi Vision graphics. So if you have a great graphic you want to reuse, and you want to put it into Connect, it is as point and click as you can get. And they're basic displays that show up, and then what happens is somebody on site is looking at their UI here, and someone remotely will see the exact same thing. But in Connect, then you can also add more things around it. So it actually becomes a piece of content that you can add to. So if you have other information available in Connect, you should be able to then decorate that and provide more insights to someone on site. They may not be able to see that, although if they can access the internet, they could also see that same display somebody in Connect is also seeing. So we want you to reuse all that work that you put in to your AVEVA tools. Bringing these things together helps without doing lots of remapping, right? The display lands there, it knows what the streams are called in Connect, and it just automatically references those. And you get the same sort of ad hoc capabilities that you would expect on-prem. So some people have very large libraries of Pi Vision and very large system platform galaxies with lots of display elements. We want people to be able to find those with that search and be able to get the same value out of it. That also shows up for third-party content. So if you have a great Power BI display, but someone isn't really good at driving Power BI, you want to be able to make that available in an iframe that has a little bit of parameterization in it. That means that if there is context in the display, and it's time range or it's asset context, and you've done the Power BI correctly, or in this case, the Databricks and Power BI, and also other visualization correctly, you can actually drive that context with one click. So that helps you reuse those things and also keep people in one pane of glass. So these are things that we've released, but we're releasing, and we're also able to improve as we get people, they have a new idea for another piece of content. Well, we can build a new iframe for that sort of thing. OK, and we talked about Crosser a bit. Having a large library of connectivity means that we can take more data into Connect and augment those things. It can speak that native open message format 2.0. That means if there is something that Crosser can connect to, and it needs an asset definition, or it needs an event record, like it's a production record or a maintenance record, and it wants to decompose it into a structure, or if it's just raw data that you want to land in Connect Data Services in the time series, Crosser can help you do that in kind of this flow sort of thing. It also can run analytics. So you've got this pipeline of interesting information that you can work with and then apply logic to, like Python it will run, and you can deploy this. It also deploys things as nodes on compute devices, so it doesn't all have to run in the cloud. So that's also very nice. I'm trying to think if I did not. I may have run over a bullet. We actually have a calculation engine in Connect. There's so many things going on in Connect, guys. Everyone just should go check it out. The other thing we've been talking about is using AI for mapping of that twin graph. So you have all these multiple systems of records around what the domain graphs look like on-prem in our tools or a partner that made one. But I need to make sense of that at an overarching level. I need to have an ontology. Ontology is just a fancy word for a data model that makes sense to me. Now, we will have an AVEVA ontology, but we also plan to support things like S95, CFOS, the SIM model, those kind of things. And that gives you a reference point. And say, I would like my ontology to look like this structure. I have all these ones that don't really map to that. Now I will use AI to suggest mappings. And what that lets me do is then find all that information from those site systems, but in one graph that allows me to be really sure that I'm not missing something. I'm not misspelling a pump name and missing an alias. Like, you can create aliases so that you always get a deterministic result when somebody wants to go find something. If you want to make one display work on all these different sites, it will use this graph to decode the information and come back with the actual raw data that you're interested in. A lot of work has been going into this. We took a lot of user feedback on how to build this and how to make this work. We even have sample data from customers that they shared to us anonymously so that we could try to make sense of it so that this AI will actually work properly. Because people have random tag naming conventions and different mergers and acquisitions. That data is hard to traverse. But the power of Connect is really being able to envision what you want to do, be able to find the data you're looking for, and build the outcome so that you can see it, you can share it, and you can benefit from closing that loop. Another thing that we've been working on is also increasing our analytics platform provider support. So this slide looks pretty familiar because we used one that looked just like it a minute ago, but now it's Snowflake. So that was a nice announcement during the keynote. We have used that same technology, a way to virtualize that data, keep it up to date, and then make it available inside of Snowflake. Now, Snowflake has a large user base, just like a Databricks or a Microsoft, and they want access to good data that's high quality and makes sense in context. And that is really what I would call the industrial medallion architecture. So there's a lot of discussion on curating data. And taking it from raw to trustworthy is this progression where you look for errors in data quality and those kind of things, and making sure that the units of measure are correct, that the asset context is correct. And that's literally what Connect is doing. It is helping you scrub that information from its raw state and then making it available in a context so that somebody doesn't have to be an expert in every single operation or role in your environment. They can use that knowledge graph, they can materialize that data, and then that data is then usable by a larger group of people. Now, the power of community would then extend that, right? So you make the data available to somebody else. If they want to actually use a Snowflake of their own to develop an algorithm, they're able to do that. So this is the promise and power of Connect. These are all things we're working on. We have Lighthouse customers applying for using this already, and we're going to see some really interesting results. Now, if you've done all that work, and you've decided, I'm going to materialize these pieces of data, I'm going to put them into a data view, I'm going to then publish that to this materialized data, I would like to reuse it for a single version of the truth for Power BI. It used to, we're working on a way of eliminating this thing that was a Power BI connector that would help extract that data. It would make it available in Power BI. It would refresh every once in a while. It was a piece of software that you had to maintain. With this technology that we use to power Databricks and Snowflake, a Power BI person can use that same data. They're able to actually reuse and have an understanding that the data they're using is the same data that the analyst is using. And you can also point Python and other things at this data as well, so that you know that I have trustworthy data available and it's up to date without having to do all that plumbing. So that's one of the aspects of putting that data into the right hands so that they can actually benefit, and all the different people that we've got involved in making decisions around operational and engineering data. The stream calculations in Connect are interesting because, I'm going to go back to that, the last bullet there. The stream calculations in Connect are interesting because while we can do summaries and we can do all that stuff on time series information, we wanted to give people the ability to do all those basic math things that you would like to do to compute. And there's a few different templates available to help you compute KPIs and efficiency and so forth. So you can now do math across streams and set up a calculation to be recurring. You can also do things like that in Crosser. So we've given you a lot of tools to unlock the potential and creativity that suit your use case. Now remember, think of the outcome. Think of what you want to deliver to your users, your customers, to transform the way they work. And we think we have a lot of tools in Connect that can help you do that. So now we get to the part where it's AI, right? I know Mana led with AI in her PyServer talk, and I thought that was great. It's a model that I should aspire to as well. But we have so many different moving parts in Connect, we also have to have different ways to engage and fuel AI-type workflows. So there have been roundtables here to discuss what the role of MCP servers are on all of our different software, how we see AI transforming tasks. Some of them can be for an administrator. What are repetitive things that you do that could be transformed by AI? Or how do I get an asset display that's real pretty and informative and actually trustworthy by just a few words typing into an industrial assistant? Or how do I perform an efficiency calculation across several different sites using the same or similar equipment? How do I leverage that knowledge graph so I can actually have AI do complex computations for me? Or maybe it's, how do I design a Python script that runs in advanced analytics so that I can, achieve the perfect center line for this particular process? How do I train that better? There are so many ways to use AI. We are going to basically think how an industrial assistant works generically, but also provide MCP servers so that our ecosystem can build their own AI interactions with the power of the cloud. There's a few different components in that, like we provide an LLM for that, but a lot of our customers actually want to bring your own LLM. And that's an important thing because they'll have standardized on something, they'll want to use it in a particular area. We also want that to be more of a swappable sort of thing, where we have an LLM if you don't bring your own. If you have your own, we'll also make it available for you to use that as well. Using that knowledge graph, so we're back to now, how do I make this LLM work better? And that is that context. If you can't find it, I don't know. I mean, the AI might be able to find it too, but how do you know you really want to trust that? Trustworthy information is the foundation of unlocking your transformation, basically. If you have trustworthy information and you believe, you know how you got to the place where you have a unified twin graph, and you know that the data coming into it is high quality, then the outcomes of your analytics and your AI queries are then more trustworthy. And that's how you build this virtuous cycle around the procurement, the stewardship, and the publishing of data so that you have an empowered workforce that doesn't have to think twice about how they're making decisions and how AI is influencing, influencing their actions by responding to their prompts. So we're going to have pre-built use cases to help people. I think an open-ended industrial assistant is interesting, but a task-based one is a little more interesting. Having some agentic workflows, that's also going to be interesting for a lot of use cases. You saw in the keynote, hopefully this morning, tool-specific use cases where I want to lay out pipes better is maybe not something you're doing in Connect. You're doing that in the tool. I want to generate a PyVision display. OK, I do that in PyVision. I want to generate a Connect visualization display. I do that in Connect. There are a lot of possibilities. And we're also hosting a lot of feedback sessions to get your input about how you envision using AI. So we've covered a lot of material today. And I just want to close thinking about these different areas where you are harvesting that data. You're pulling it together, you're creating use cases out of it, and thinking from end to end, and then multi-site to the same end. How are your work styles changing? How are people getting the support they need to operate their assets and improve their assets? How are your design processes transforming? How are you going to engage at a broader scale with the pace of change that we have today to produce high-quality, energy-efficient, sustainable operations and optimizations? All those sources of information help contextualize those use cases. We're investing into making that connection much easier. You just double-click, you do some configuration, the data is flowing. For example, we have some customers today that want to do some of this, but look at 15 years of data that they've gotten, they're historians. Well, that's actually something you need a little help with. How do I bulk ingest that information and get it into Connect without, over maybe a low-speed link, something like that? I've got the servers or elsewhere. They're hard to connect to. How do I do that? So we are also working with our customers to help bulk ingest all this information and get it into Connect so they can start doing long-term studies on asset lifecycles. These are the things that we're working with our community of users and our partners to help uncover, because we don't want day-to-day tasks in AVEVA to be plumbing operations. We want them to be insightful, analytical and interesting ways to unlock new ways to improve your performance. We think the integration of IT, OT, and ET data is very special in the market. We think that this is something that is a community sort of activity. It's not just one big vendor saying they can do it all. We know that our ecosystem provides lots of value. We know our customers are sometimes that ecosystem. And we know that analytics providers have a lane that is transformative and interesting, but it falls short if it doesn't have that trustworthy information from something like Connect. And that is a reflection of all your hard work in AVEVA tools, reflecting that high-quality data so that you can make better decisions and empower people for the next workforce generation. So to recap, digital twin, it's not just a tree structure. It is a trustworthy thing that you can traverse. Remote monitoring of operations. How are sites that maybe don't have people that can do IT work going to get the support they need from someone centrally? How are you going to invoke the ecosystem so that they can actually go and perform root cause analysis with a friend? Data governance. How are you checking in that data, ensuring that it is up to date, ensuring that it is high quality, making sure the units of measure are consistent and transformative? I don't know what a transformative unit of measure is. I'll think of that. The ESG, how do I report across all these things? Think of these when you're walking through the expo floor and you're attending later talks today. If you are interested in joining this early access program, we do have limited spaces, and we will be able to follow up on anything that we get there. So be sure to take a picture of that. We'll pause there. And I think I'm going to leave the session slide after this, so you know where to go after this, because we have a lot of different talks still to come.
All right, thanks a ton, Greg. That was great, fantastic. Right. Let's give Greg a big hand. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for attending. Appreciate it.